The pie warmers are heating up. The sausage sizzle is underway, Pete. There's fresh haircuts all around the change rooms, fresh new jumpers, new numbers, even some new teammates whose names you don't quite know yet. There's new boots, new nicknames, chances for coaches to try out some nice brand new rev ups. And I did hear a good one on the weekend. Plenty of freshly cut grass smell going around, mixed up with liniment and the smell of sports tape. It's all singing out round one football. The first siren, the first whistle goes, and we're underway. Season 2025. It's so good to have local footy back. Pete, how are you, mate?
I'm good, thanks, Rob. Yeah, doing very well. I wonder what was the first game to start? Like what was the first game across Victorian local footy on the weekend that actually got to blow the whistle first? Maybe the timekeeper was a minute faster on their watch than anyone else across Victoria, and they got to be the official first start of local footy across Victoria. But yeah, excited to dig into to what was a jam-packed round one, knowing that we've still got a hell of a lot of leagues, Rob, that haven't begun yet and start this weekend. But yeah, we've still got plenty to talk through. So excited to dig into it with you.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, probably the first ones off the rank were the time-honored tradition of could be the under eights, could be the under tens, kicking the dew off the grass. Probably not kicking frost off the grass yet because it's pretty warm around Victoria anyway. I don't know what it's like in other parts of Australia, but yeah, it's been very warm. It's more been a matter of getting the sunscreen out for round one footy than the long sleeve jumpers and kicking frost off the grass. It could even
You
be Oz kickers though. So we all know the little tackers, boys and girls these days, are probably those ones that got the local footy underway.
They do, and I do have a friend that his son plays is playing under eights, I believe, over in the Horsham District Footy Netball League for the. And I know we had some criticism from this person around our pronunciation of the Pimpanayo, I believe is the correct pronunciation. Tigers there. He's playing under eights. They were playing out at Edenhope, which is
Yeah,
it's a trek from where
yeah,
they are.
yeah.
I think they might have had a convenient reason not to play round one so that they didn't have to make the. I think it would have been a six a.m. trip to get out
Oh,
to
yeah,
get out to
yeah.
the game there. So I think you're probably right. It was probably our under eights, our under tens kicking it off, but we've all started there back in the day. So
Yeah. Hey, we got our Spotify underway, Pete. I think you can find us on Got the 4 Points in your Spotify if you want to listen to our dulcet tones without having to look at our ugly mugs. Then you can find us there,
good
and
option.
yeah, probably the option I'd be taking. And we're also, of course, on YouTube for the majority of the content. We are also on Instagram. You can follow us there. You'll see updates from us when we are posting new podcast episodes, and we might start sharing a few other things that are going on in local footy through there. And you can reach out to us by email at gotthefourpoints@gmail.com or via the Instagram page if you want to tell us a story. Give us your round one or your round zero escapades. If you kicked a bag on the weekend and you want someone on YouTube to know about it, then you can let us know there. And we're going to be going a little bit around the grounds in today's episode. We're going to do that, fairly regularly throughout the season, but stay tuned. We're going to also have some very special guests on in the coming weeks. We're looking at getting a few of our mates and maybe even some people that we don't know so well yet to come and talk about local footy with us. It's such a broad church, it's such a wide number of games, and we can't cover them all. But we're gonna give as many chances to all the different leagues out there as we can throughout the season. So I know, Pete, you've done a pretty extensive casting of your eye over the local footy that's been going on in round one. As you said, not round one for everyone yet, but do you want to take us through some of the stuff that's caught your eye?
Yeah, definitely. So, plenty going on. I think the first thing that caught my eye on the weekend, and um, we were coming back from Brighton for the Blacks. There was four of us jammed into a vehicle, along with sports tape and bump bags and footballs and drink bottles and Gatorade tubs. You name it, we had it.
Fighting
Um,
off the water bottles as they were
yeah,
landing on me. Yeah,
basically. And it's a good, I don't know what, 30, 40 minute trip
yeah.
from where we were to where we were going. And what that meant was it was just my time to go and play HQ and just check all the results that had happened for the day. The first thing that caught my eye, and it's the reason it caught my eye is because we had a big discussion about the salary cap. Um, and this club, Keilor, was one of the big culprits for that. Not only that, but they had one of their premierships rescinded on the back
Yeah.
of that salary cap drama. Round one, Keilor 29-19, 193 versus Deer Park 8-7-55. So
Mm.
fair to say, came out potentially breathing some fire for what's been a tough off season in terms of the salary cap issues. But it seems like everything else for off seasons went pretty well if you are to take that result into account. Now, Deer Park probably mid to lower table in 2024. So whether that's where they sit again this year, and Keeler, of course, has been a powerhouse in that league for quite some time. In saying that, Lin Jong did play for Deer Park, so you would have thought that Lin Jong would have given a decent account out there for the Keeler midfield. 6 goals for Christus Cosmos for Keeler. But yeah, I think what 138 points start to the year. I'm keen to see round two and see where that sits in terms of how good are Keilor, or was that just a very big result with lots of momentum and energy for wanting a good result to forget the off season that has been. So that was the first one that caught my eye, Rob.
I mean, if you reckon Deer Park are mid-table, that's a little concerning if it, 138 points to a mid-table team. But yeah,
I
I mean
mean,
that's
yeah.
big result, and you'd have to think there was a bit of rev up. Speaking of rev ups, I imagine Mick McGuan gives a good one.
Would have
Um,
thought so. I would have thought
and
he'd be pretty good.
he had the heat on him in the media. I mean, there's not always a lot of media on local footy, but his face has been plastered over social media and newspapers and whatnot
Mm,
for that salary cap issue. So
definitely.
yeah, I would like to have been a fly on the wall for that
Yeah.
pre-game speech.
And I think that flows really well. Something you said there to my second thing that caught my eye is and something I think I remember you saying to me only a few weeks back, it's never as bad as it seems, and it's never as good as it seems. And I think round one results are that in a nutshell. Have you just played the team that might go undefeated all year and knock off
Yeah,
everyone? And so the fact
yeah.
that you've just been smacked by them doesn't mean anything, or have the team you played dropped off a fair bit? So the next thing that caught my eye was the Northern Footy League. So Heidelberg versus North Heidelberg. We've spoken a little bit about the Northern Footy League in our season previews. This is first v third from 2024.
Right.
Um, Again, big result. Heidelberg 25-14, 164 plays North Heidelberg 5-4-34. So 130 points, 1v3.
Mm,
And that's, yeah, it's never as good as it seems. It's never as bad as it seems. Have North Heidelberg just run into an incredibly hot Heidelberg that might completely dismantle that Northern Footy League, or have North Heidelberg maybe not quite got where they were last year, and might be in for a season that's a little tougher than what they had. So that was another one that caught my eye. It's very interesting um, try and get a gauge on where people sit after round one. I think it's so
Yeah,
difficult to know where teams sit after one round. So that was the second one that caught my eye as we were traveling back in the car.
yeah. That's a huge result for what you might have expected to be a finals-like matchup. Yeah, I did touch on Heidelberg a bit in the Northern Footy League preview a few weeks ago, and that was, um, yeah, I think they're going for their fourth flag in a row. So, uh,
Good
not
start.
not a, not a bad way to get your triple premiership defence underway. I would I would say.
I don't think
Yeah,
you'd be too disappointed. I think if the coach came out of that with some disappointment, then maybe we need to swap jobs because I'd be pretty happy with 130 points to start off. But and then I went from two shellackings um, to a drought breaker. So
yep,
we're going to the Hampton Footy League,
yep.
a league where we covered the grand final last year. If I remember correctly, it was a grand final that was pretty crazy in terms of the final score, with I think a lot more points being scored than goals from both teams.
Hmm.
But Portland's on a 33 game losing streak. They're coming up against a finals team of 2024 in Croydon. You're probably thinking, oh, might be 34. We might be 34 games lost in a row. They broke the drought, Rob. Portland 16-12-108 plays Croydon 8-7-55. So popular score, the 8-7-55. I
Yeah.
mean, apparently that was the go-to score for the weekend. But they've broken the drought. Incredible. Jeff Garlett was playing for Portland. I believe he's playing the first 5 or 6 weeks for Portland.
Yep.
I know you had made mention of Jeff Garlett, I believe, in one of our previous episodes. And then I found an article on Code Sports, so I'll give them the credit because this is an article from Code Sports. So if you do want to check them out and read the article, but this is an excerpt from the article, which is the president of Portland saying, halfway through the last quarter, someone said, "Have we got the song ready?" I said, shit, I better run up there and make sure they got that and get the dust off it after 33 weeks. The bar manager said, don't worry, it's all done. We tested it yesterday. And then after the game, we played it twice. So they were very, very happy, had the song playing. They're the
So this is a
Portland.
place. This is somewhere where they play the song on speakers.
Well,
Is that what we're surmising?
that was the other funny, great to break a drought, but the big question I had from it, Rob, is this a league where they play the theme song after you win, or
Love that.
is it just a Portland Tigers thing? Now they are the Tigers as well, so I'm like,
Mm,
do they go? Are they the Tigers theme song? There's so many grand old flags out there.
yeah,
We've spoken a lot about. We need to talk about the best footy ovals out there, the best
yeah.
canteens, the best jumpers, the best team names. I think we've got to put songs on there as well.
Oh, yeah,
Because I'm sick of hearing it's a grand old flag and just
yeah.
changing the colours of whose grand old flag it is. I
And
want
it
to
doesn't
hear
even
some.
rhyme anymore,
I
like
want
you
to.
said.
I want to hear some creative ones. So I don't know, but congratulations there to Portland. No longer on a 33 game losing streak. Now on a 1 game winning streak. So
Yeah, good
let's
on them.
see how they can continue on. So um, as
That
I will,
quote, that quote reminded me of now the Uni Blacks didn't do so well on the weekend in the ones and twos, which is why we haven't mentioned them yet. But our under 19s had a win, and the fantastic photo posted by Damage, our ever loving godfather of the under 19s, on Facebook of the circle of under 19 players with A4 sheets of paper singing the theme song. Now, I mean, the Uni Blacks are up there with the best songs, I must say. We would vote ourselves probably into number one in
I
terms
think
of
so.
not an AFL song, very
Yes.
unique, very unique. Um, And anyway, look, this image of under 19 players and university club players coming from all over the states, or like maybe all over the country. So never having heard this song before, uh, that image, I hope that was replicated a lot around Victoria on the weekend. Teams winning their first games. You can imagine if Portland Tigers have got the Richmond song that they probably all got around that one pretty easily. But even so.
Yep.
Great to think
And
about them singing the song for the first time in 33 matches. That's awesome.
correct. And I don't have it in something that caught my eye, and I don't know whether you do. So I might hope I don't preempt anything. But not only that, but we also I know they didn't get the win on the weekend, but we had a couple of clubs that were brand new. So there's one I can't remember. It might be a merged club somewhere else, but the Gisborne Giants in the Riddle League were
That's right. Yeah.
brand new club there playing in the Riddle League. So I can also imagine they didn't get the win, but when they do get the win, there might
Yeah.
need to be the song sheets out for them. But I
Yeah.
love it. It is great to see that. I do like seeing that. But look, seeing as we're speaking of VAFA, I'll go to the next
Yep.
thing that caught my eye.
Yep.
It isn't Prem A. We won't be talking about the Blacks at all this weekend. Um, but it is Premier B, and it's Old Camberwell and Old Trinity. And the final result might not seem all that unassuming. So Old Camberwell 13-11-89 does defeat Old Trinity 12-16-88. And you go, 1 point game. That must have been an incredible game to be at, back and forth, both teams having a chance to win. That's until you have a look at the fine print and you see that Old Camberwell were 41 points up at three-quarter time. They
41.
they have nearly a seven
Whoa.
goal lead at three-quarter time, and you're thinking this is the greatest, like great round one,
Yeah.
solid win. Old
Yeah.
Trinity are a finals team last year, so you're thinking
Yeah.
this is a good one to win. This is a big tick for us. And then Old Trinity goes 7-5 in the last quarter to Old Camberwell's 1-1. And I should have looked up who kicked that one goal because that was an important one, or who kicked the 1 point, because that was an incredible 1 point.
Also an important one.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but they managed to sneak over the line by 1 point. So I was having a look. It was about a 30-point lead. Old Camberwell kicked a goal at about the 10-minute mark of the last quarter to
Yeah.
put
Second
them
goal
back.
of the term.
Correct,
Second
to
goal of the term.
put them
Mm.
back up. And you sort of thought, all right, 10 minutes played. We've maybe we've conceded one goal or a couple of goals against us. We've got a goal back. We're looking pretty good here. And then Old Trinity just went bang, 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 and put it right on the edge where I reckon they can only imagine the coaching box in Old Camberwell as that was happening, Rob. Must have been absolute kittens being had in that coach's box.
Yeah.
I
Premature
don't
grey hair.
I don't care to imagine. And then I mean, the thing I always like around that is who comes out of that happier? Because I'm not sure either team walk off the ground happy. It's one of those rare games that I reckon both teams walk off. Old Trinity walk off going, well, at least we showed some signs of life in the last, but we should never put ourselves in a position being 41 points down.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we're going to get on the track and we're going to correct this for round two. Old Camberwell walk off going, yeah, we got the win, but we just gave up a 41-point lead and just snuck over the line by a point. Boys, we are hitting the track and we're going to correct this for
Yeah.
round two. So I don't reckon it must have been, like I reckon there would have been that initial, singing the song. They would have been up and about, having escaped with a victory. But
Yeah.
then I reckon I would have liked to have seen what the coach was saying in that. You were talking about rev ups at
Oh,
the
yeah.
top of the episode. Yeah, I reckon the Camberwell coach, maybe not a rev up, but might have just given them a little bit of a, switch on, boys. Like, you've got to keep your wits about you in this great game. So that's one that caught my eye that I just thought was a really great example of you're just never out of it in this game, are you? You're
Yeah.
just always in with a chance.
That's a classic. That's an absolute round one classic
It
for the
is.
ages.
Yeah.
That for Prem B, we called it a few weeks ago. We said it's the competition to watch, and it's already produced a Jaffa.
It's produced a Jaffa, and if anyone goes to the Prem B results as well, Old Geelong beating Fitzroy,
Yeah,
old Ivanhoe having a very big win.
yeah,
Like that is a league where it's hard right now to say who
yeah,
the hell is going to
yeah,
be coming up to Prem
yeah,
A. So
yeah.
it's an
There's movement
exciting
down
one.
there.
There
Yeah.
is there is movement. And the last one for me, Rob, before I hand over to yourself and we see what caught your eye, but taking us to the Riddle League. So I did just mention the Riddle League with the Gisborne Giants. And again, what you would think is just a pretty unassuming, albeit low scoring, but a pretty unassuming score. So Woodend Heskett 5-4-34, lose to Melton Central 7-8-50. And people probably go, it's a pretty boring one to pick, Pistol. What the hell? You just picked a random Riddle District League game and told us the result. But that wasn't what the final result was when the siren went on Saturday. That is the
Okay.
re- that is the result as we sit here filming this episode. But during the game, Central's called for a head count during the third quarter, and the Woodend Heskett Hawks were found with too many players on the ground. The classic 19th man, Rob. So as a
Hmm.
result, points scored during that time in the term were removed. So 1-1-3-9, 1 goal, three behinds, 9 points were removed from Woodend's score. Game continued. Woodend went on to win the match by 16 points. Now I know what you're thinking. You just told me a score where Melton Central's won. But when the siren went after having 9 points wiped off for having too many men in the third quarter, Woodend went on to win by 16 points. However, they did a follow-up investigation that found the Woodend Heskett Hawks again fielded too many players in the fourth term for more than 5 minutes, and as a result, they had their score during the fourth quarter also removed, which was 3-5-23. So instead of a 9-12-66 to 7-8-50 victory to Woodend Heskett, the match has now been declared as a 7-8-50 to 5-4-34 win to Melton Central. So
What?
I know. I mean, being
What is
caught with
going on?
19 players once,
Yeah.
I just and like the article and that's been written about this, and you read the Woodend Heskett statement, like, and I don't think anyone naturally sits here and think that they've tried to play 19 men on purpose, but they have obviously had an absolute breakdown in communication that not only once but twice have they put a 19th man on the ground. Like, what is happening where that occurs? Like, okay, first time, right?
Yeah. Round one.
We all make
Round one.
mistakes. Round one,
Yeah.
someone's read the
Yeah.
board wrong, or
Yeah.
someone's taken someone off, not real, or put someone
Yeah.
on, not realizing that someone hasn't come off yet. Okay, but surely after it happens once and you've had 139 wiped off your score, you go, all right, lads, like we are,
Switch on.
it's lockdown. Like you've got to get past eight blokes. You've got to get past like eight interchange stewards to get to the interchange bench alone to then come on for someone else. Obviously not. Obviously, it's just a bit of a willy-nilly run on, run off. I can't believe it, Rob. What's your take on that?
I I don't know what my take on that is. That's just extraordinary. That's really, really extraordinary.
Crazy.
My first take on it is, as you know very well, but others may not. I played in a game before where 19 players were on the field in a grand final in the under 15s for Wesley Hill. I can't even remember what year that would have been now. I guess it's about 20 years ago now.
Seventeen,
And
18 years ago, maybe?
something like that, yeah. Castlemaine Junior Footy League. Daylesford ended up going on to win that grand final. Wesley Hill, our team were winning on that day by about 3 goals, 2 or 3 goals, I think. And different rules to what you just described. We had our entire score wiped. Um,
About
I was on the bench, so I was
about
not to blame.
middle way through the third quarter too.
Yeah,
I reckon
midway
there
through the third quarter.
wasn't a lot of time left.
No. And then Wesley Hill kicked. Wesley Hill had a quarter um, like you just described for Trinity there against Camberwell. I think kicked seven of the last eight goals or six of the last seven and got within a goal. But yeah,
Yeah,
it was a stirring comeback, but it wasn't to be. That's my experience of 19 on the ground. I was on the bench as I was for most of that season in the under 15s. So
are you just saying that continuously just so people don't? I was on the bench, by the way.
yeah, yeah, that's right.
I
Want you to
wasn't on the
know,
bench.
wasn't my fault.
I wasn't
Yeah.
on the bench. I was watching the game from behind the fence. So it also wasn't me. If anyone wants to, I didn't even play for Wesley Hill. But if just in case people point the finger, and as I've told you this before, I did think it was weird in midway through that third quarter when you'd been playing two players on the full forward for Dalesford who had done sweet bugger all for pretty much the whole game and
All
really wasn't
season.
real well all season too. He really wasn't that great of a player. And I thought, why are they playing two guys on this bloke? And it turns out that obviously a 19th man thought, well, where the hell am I going to go? And just parked himself at fullback.
Yeah, yeah. So look, no, that's my experience of 19 on the field, but I cannot fathom how
In
you
senior football.
stuff that up twice in senior football.
Yeah.
That's really extraordinary. You found two absolute cracking stories there from round one. That's incredible. Um, yep. Unfortunately, I don't know what to say. Woody and Heskett clearly they'll be looking for a new board manager, a new magnet
Yeah.
man.
Oh, the magnet man's got to be under a bit of pressure going into round two,
I don't.
surely.
I think they're on a train back to
I,
Melbourne.
I, I'm not sure ever in local football it's been said that the magnet man is under heat. But
Yeah,
I tell you, what is it? What's Mick Malloy's the front bar under the pump?
yeah.
The magnet man at Woodend Heskett
Woody and
is
Heskett.
under the pump. He
Yes,
he's going to
yeah.
be sweating bullets.
If he still has a job,
That's
might
very
be.
accurate.
But even the new person is going to be sweating bullets because um, can you imagine? I'm like, if I was a supporter of whoever's playing Woody and Heskett this week, I'd be like calling for head counts
You'd be counting
left,
it
right, and centre from behind the goals. I would be absolutely giving it to them.
every
Um,
couple of minutes.
oh,
You'd be just doing the one, two, three. Oh, yeah. It'd just be double checking.
they've been doing it all day. Like, got to get those ones out.
Yeah, 100%. I must admit, there are times where, from a Blacks perspective, I will look at the bench and I'll see three on the bench and I immediately panic.
Oh yeah,
I immediately go, why have we only got three on the bench?
yeah,
Where is the fourth? And then it's just, the fourth's been down getting some treatment in the rooms or something like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
But anytime I see three on the bench, panic mode sets in.
Oh, can you imagine they're going to have an injured player on the Woody and Heskett bench at some stage this year, down in the rooms, and some supporters are going to turn around and see they've got three, and they're going to
Just panic.
absolutely crap themselves.
Most definitely. But that's what caught my eye in round one, Rob. I think you're right. Round one's already thrown up some funny stories, some interesting stories. But I'm keen to see what caught your eye from a round one perspective.
Yeah, so what mainly caught my eye actually was Wangaratta in the Ovens and Murray. I didn't come across the awesome stories that you had in terms of the 19 on the ground, but I did come across the pretty awesome story of Brody Philo, um, absolute country football legend. He was playing his 500th career game on the weekend, which
Yeah,
is
wow.
that's pretty extraordinary.
Incredible player too. Yeah, I
Amazing
mean,
player,
yeah,
amazing pedigree. What a family. What a country football name. Probably could have played AFL, VFL. Don't know for whatever reason has
Yeah, not
chosen
sure.
or didn't quite get picked up or whatever it was. But a gem of a player. We've commented before on the Ovens and Murray standard of media, and
Yeah.
one thing that did allow me to do was just have a little gander before at some of Brody Philo's highlights on
Yep.
YouTube, and that's pretty cool. And
Mm.
yes, he's a pretty classy player. I'd seen him play back in the day when he was playing for Eaglehawk anyway,
Yep.
but yes, some pretty cool highlights. So he's played at a number of different clubs. I don't think I found them all, but I think it includes Eaglehawk, um, Kundra Barham, Wodonga Raiders, and he's played
He's
150 games for Nightcliff in the Northern
I was
Territory.
just about to say that he's played a lot of Northern Territory footy up there. I
Yeah,
reckon he's won a fair few League B and Fs up there as well.
yeah, yeah. So highly decorated player. Anyhow, it was a pretty interesting grudge match in any case. If you wanted to play your 500th career game for Wang Rovers, you'd probably be pretty excited to play it against the Wangaratta Magpies.
Mm.
And the Rovers were celebrating their 2024 premiership,
Yep.
but actually it was the Magpies who ended up getting the job done it was actually a standalone game in the Ovens and Murray League, like a round zero. The rest of the competition gets underway this weekend. So the Rovers were 13-8-86 and the Magpies were 15-8-98. So a pretty good game. Looking through the game, the Rovers were actually leading for a fair bit of it. They were narrowly in front at quarter time and half time. And then the Magpies had a 1 point lead at three-quarter time. So really good game. Would have been a cracking one to watch. Wang Magpies kicked 5 goals to 3 in the final quarter.
Mm.
Uh, so they ran out winners there by 12 points. Yeah, fantastic game by the looks of things. And yeah, congratulations to Brody Philo on an outstanding career. And
Incredible.
by all accounts, what I could see on the Rovers social media, they're pretty confident he's not done anytime soon. So could be some records being broken there. Amazing pedigree. I didn't actually realise, but his half brother is Kane Farrell.
Yep.
Yeah, and his old man Derek played a lot of football.
Yeah.
Famous footballing name from the Castlemaine and Bendigo area.
Yeah.
450 games, 4 premierships, 4 best and fairest, or you name it.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I know, being a Castlemaine lad, certainly when you talk to some of the older players, they would talk around Derek Philo being one of the best footballers they've seen play the
yeah,
game from a local
yeah,
Victorian standpoint. So
yeah,
yeah, from all reports, I never got to see him play, but from all reports, he was a very good footballer. I think his resume somewhat speaks to that. I don't think you don't have on your resume what he has on his resume. Similar
yeah,
to Brody, you don't have what's
yeah,
on Brody's resume if you're not a good footballer. There you don't get to 500 games unless you can play
yeah,
pretty decent
very well.
level for quite some time. So that's incredible.
I actually did see Derek Philo play. He was captain coaching Kangaroo Flat when Castlemaine
Wow.
won their last premiership. Yeah, in 2000. So I do remember Derek Philo playing for Kangaroo Flat in that game. I can't say I remember too much. I was 8 years old, but I remember the name because he was a former Castlemaine player, and so it was quite a big deal that he was coaching Kangaroo Flat against Castlemaine at that time. So
Yeah, right. I must admit, I am learning right now that he didn't play in the 2000 Castlemaine Premiership.
no, he didn't.
I
No,
always
he
just
didn't.
assumed he had.
No, no, he was in the
There you go.
opposition camp. Yep,
Okay,
yep.
I'll take that on board.
Take that on notice. Hey, I also cast my eye further west, Pete. Um, I had a little look at Harrow Balmoral. They won the flag last year in the Horsham District Football League. They won the flag the year before that as well, and they actually haven't been defeated since 2022 in that league. I always like to just have a little look and see how their run is going.
Mhm.
Up to 37 straight wins. So Harrow Balmoral 17-11, 114 defeated Taylor's Lake 11-10, 76. So decent game of footy.
Yep,
Taylor's Lake certainly a few goals on the board there and put up a good fight. But yeah, the Kangaroos from Harrow Balmoral way too strong. And
mm,
yeah, perhaps a little bit like Heidelberg in the Northern Footy League, you'd have to think they are lining up flag number three in Horsham in Harrow Balmoral's case. I think it's four for Heidelberg, but
yep.
very strong effort there from Harrow Balmoral. Um, what else caught my eye? I did see there was a couple of games called off on the weekend. The one that caught my eye was Gormandale against Sale Tigers. There was a freak accident that people were pretty worried about in the second quarter there. I think the lad's name was Nick Millington. I think he's doing okay, thankfully. Um, but that game was in the second quarter. It was 12-6, 78 Sale Tigers to 5-1, 31. That's a pretty high score in the second quarter. Um,
It is.
but yeah, Gormandale on a 48 game losing streak. So they didn't lose on the weekend, but not in the circumstances are not what they would have wanted in terms of not losing that game there in the
Okay.
North Gippsland Footy League.
So
And
obviously on that, obviously is the rule that you have to have played a half of football
I
before a
believe so.
result can be called. Okay.
I believe
So
so. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So Sale Tigers may be a little disappointed not to end up with the win there, but obviously the player
Yeah,
safety comes first,
100%.
and so the right decision there. But yeah, poor old Gormandale still on a pretty big losing streak. I did see. I kind of found this interesting article about some of the big winning and losing streaks in local footy in the Weekly Times, and I did see that the two teams on the largest losing streaks are in recess this season. They are North Sunshine and Maryborough.
Maryborough. Okay. I was
62 games for Maryborough,
Yeah,
but
the Maryborough one I knew. Yeah, I don't think I ever would have guessed the North Sunshine one.
uh,
So
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, so I was looking at the streak as well. So Karamat, we go down after Gormandale. Karamat are the next longest losing streak
Okay.
in local footy in the seniors. 41 game losing streak for Karamat. But I'm excited about this, Pete. They're playing Moyston Wallora. This is down in the Minnanera League on Saturday, and you might call it the Battle of the Cellar Dwellers. So there was only one game won by Moyston Wallora last season against Karamat. Um, so I reckon this is a big chance. I'm going to be checking out the Minnanera League scores on the weekend to see whether Karamat can snap that 41 game losing streak. They got to be you got to think somebody's dusting off the song down there at Karamat because this could be their best chance for a while. This could be where it's
Oh,
at.
I hope
Yeah,
so. You can
I
just
hope so.
you can imagine the energy that's going into that
Oh
game.
yeah,
So let's get
yeah,
on
yeah,
Karamat and let's hope they can get the bickies. So that's
yeah.
good, Rob. That's some really good reviews of what's happened and some interesting games there, and yeah, just mentioning some football royalty when it comes to the Philos. So
Oh yeah.
um, so I think that's absolutely awesome. So that was our siren summaries. Just checking out a few of the different results. There's, as we said, heaps of other games that were played. I'm sure there's heaps of other stories that we missed, but those were the ones we managed to catch. So we're always happy if someone wants to send in anything that we've missed that we should have captured. That was interesting. But Rob, we're going to go into a footy fire starter here. So
It's been a while, Pete. It's good.
it has been a while for a footy five star, and this just came. I was just as I do now, flicking through the Code Sports on online and just reading all the articles and reading all about local footy. And can I say they do an incredible job there, as does the is it the local leader, leader
Yeah,
local.
yeah,
Both of those two do just an incredible job at covering local footy as well from a print perspective. So Big credit to them, because if you love reading about local footy, they're the place to go. But I was reading an article there in Code Sports that's talking about some controversial fines in the Northern Football Netball League. Um, and I clicked on it because I was like, this is intriguing. I'm always interested to see what clubs are being fined for. And it resulted in and I hope this doesn't come back on Epping at all. So I'll say this for Epping: we don't know people at Epping. We are no way connected with people at the Epping Football Netball Club. I don't even know where Epping is in terms of where it is in Melbourne. Melbourne's not my go-to place. I'm a regional lad, so that's just clearing the air so that if anyone from the Northern Footy Netball League does see this, they don't go after Epping again. But
I
Epping,
mentioned Epping because they're the pingers. Their club
right,
website is the
that's right.
pingers. Yeah,
That's right.
yeah,
A few
yeah,
episodes back, we were talking
yeah,
about
yeah,
the pingers. But anyway,
yeah.
I'm just going to read a little bit of what was in the Code Sports article, but and then I am paraphrasing here, but so the club Epping was fined $250 after a third-party Facebook page, not in its control, shared a leader local footy article about star recruit Brent McCaffer. So the article was shared by the Northern Footy Show, which has been specifically targeted by the league and declared a non-approved media outlet, which is just wild. I would have thought local footy, you would be happy for anyone to be covering your league. But it's a non-approved media outlet, the Northern Footy Show. Now, within the article, Epping actually declined to comment for fear of a further fine. I mean, this
Fair
is like
enough.
we're talking like Stalin-esque. Like this is like just like well, like this is Putin with Russia at the minute. Like, what is going on? We're not a politics podcast. We've said before. We'll move past that. Um, I'll get us out of that jam. Don't worry, Rob. Um, so the Northern Footy League CEO sent a memo to clubs before the season saying articles written by the Northern Footy Show contributors for the leader local footy were approved, but still fined Epping when the article was shared by the show's Facebook page. So it's an article written by Leader Local Footy, which the Northern Footy League have ticked off, said that's fine. We're happy to approve anything written by the Leader Local Footy. It's written by a contributor from the Northern Footy Show on that paper. It's then shared by that Northern Footy Show on their Facebook page, which Epping then cop a fine for because whilst the article was approved, the sharing of it by that show's Facebook page is not. I
Lost.
get yeah, make it make sense is basically where this is at. So um it's just a little bit crazy. And some of the other, so they're talking about controversial fines. In the last year, Diamond Creek was fined when an under 19s player chose not to attend a tribunal hearing for mental health and safety reasons. The player was the victim of alleged racially vilification, yet it is understood the incident did not happen on or near a football field, but at a private party. Um, just this is just wild. So, um, yeah, I don't get. So the NFNL last year banned all clubs from interacting with the Northern Footy Show and its creator, Darren Compt. And this was a statement that was released by the Northern Footy League. All NFNL affiliated clubs are strictly prohibited from engaging with or supporting any media platforms, including social media forums or pages that have not been explicitly approved by the NFNL, it read. This applies to all forms of media, including but not limited to print media, online news outlets, social media platforms, podcast, whoop, we're done, video blogs, or any other digital communication channels. Leader Local Footy understands no list of approved media outlets has ever been released. I wonder if Got the 4 Points will be on the approved media list, Rob. So I'm I'm baffled. I'm
Yeah.
I'm baffled how this is. a logical decision when we're trying to, and not this podcast in particular, but I'm sure, I've never listened to the Northern Footy Show. I've not checked into the Northern Footy Show. I will now.
Yeah, I will
It's
too.
it's great. It's great little publicity for the Northern Footy Show. I think
Absolutely.
I'll probably watch a couple episodes and see what they're about now. But something covering your league for me,
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's what you want, is it not? You want
Oh,
eyeballs, you want coverage,
yeah,
you want people
yeah,
focusing on your league,
yeah,
and yeah, they've basically banned any interaction from the Northern Footy Show with clubs. They've basically told clubs that you are unable to engage with those parties.
yeah,
Um, and then weirdly, when that party shares an article on their own Facebook page, um, the club cops the fine. It's
yeah.
just it's
That's
bonkers.
bizarre.
Does that mean if we mention the Northern Football Netball League specifically that we can send them a fine and basically run the score up and get some free cash, or do they find themselves if they're the club mentioned or if they're the league mentioned? I don't know. I'm interested, Rob, what your take is on that. I'm not sure if you've been aware of that. I only became aware of it a couple of days back when I saw the article posted. But yeah, what's your take on leagues having media policies that basically restrict coverage?
Yeah, I'm not a fan at all. I think yeah, sponsorship is one of the main ways that people get revenue into these leagues and clubs. And we talked about player payments and the importance of that revenue coming in. And I would have thought that any time you get extra eyes on your competition, it's got to be a really good thing. So yeah, I can't understand anything that's finding extra sharing of posts. You have to wonder if there's not something else going on under the surface here. If there's not, there's a bit of a personal gripe going on, or there's some perceived club bias in there, or something. I don't know. You'd have to think there's a bit more than meets the eye because, as regards what you've just outlined there on face value, makes no sense. And yeah, I know you've got written here, which is something that I completely agree with, which is that we're seeing around the place this real uptake of media, social media, YouTube, all sorts of things that are really providing great outlets for clubs and great engagement for leagues and clubs. And I think that's a wonderful thing. It's getting more eyes on local footy, more people talking about it. We love talking about it, but we want more people to be interested. And so, yeah, I really can't believe that on face value, this would be something that any other league would be wanting to kind of shut out.
Yeah, I think it's wild. I know like the VAFA, in my experience, have always been really great at sharing when any club is doing some form of their own media.
Yeah,
I've always experienced the VAFA pretty good. They just, again, more eyeballs the better.
yeah, 100%.
And when you've got a league with that many clubs, it's hard to have a media team that can get out and cover all the stories themselves. And so
Yeah,
I've always
absolutely.
felt they really lean into what the clubs do. I think
Yeah,
the thing that just puzzles me is that I read that article and I can't figure out where Epping have actually
yeah,
come into it.
yeah,
I don't like
yeah, it's bizarre.
other than I think Brent McCaffrey is playing for Epping, but like other than that, that they've clearly not made the decision to share it on the Northern Footy Show.
Yeah,
It is really puzzling. You know, I mean, I don't know how critical can I be now? Are they gonna come out and sue me? I don't know. I don't want to be too critical now, but I
anyone that
just
wants to donate to the GoFundMe page for Got the 4 Points,
potentially.
welcome.
That might be next episode. It'll just be you and I pleading for someone to pay court
Oh
bills.
yeah,
Um,
pay our Northern Footy League
it's all
fines.
right. I reckon I know of a lawyer that could get us off. Um, but I would like to think that they maybe sit back, read that article, and just take a good hard look at themselves and think what is really the meaning of this fine.
Pistol goes bang.
It's a disgrace. It's honestly a disgrace. If I was a local football player or if I was someone interested in covering a local footy league, uh, I would never want to cover the Northern Footy League after that. It just completely turned me off. Like I
Mm,
barely even want to talk about the Heidelberg North Heidelberg game anymore in your league because you clearly just don't have any interest
yeah,
in wanting to grow the game, which I think is the role of the league is to help grow the game. I think leagues forget that. I think
mm,
leagues, I'm going real critical here, but I think leagues sometimes forget that competition management is only one arm of what they should be
yeah,
doing
yeah,
with their league. It is about growing this great game of ours, and I think they forget that. And I think that at times they run into areas that they don't need to run in.
yeah.
What would have been the harm of not finding Epping for the Northern Footy Show sharing a post about Brent McCafford that's it's on a paper that they have approved. Like,
Mm,
just get out of that space. Focus on growing the game. Focus on managing the competition properly. Do your job. It's basically what I'm asking from the Northern Football Netball League. And if they want to hit me up and discuss that, then they can send a message through to Got the 4 Points, and we can have a discussion around that. I've been in the sports industry quite a long time, and I'm in the sports industry professionally. I think I've probably got some merit in what I'm saying. So yeah, pistol goes bang. There it is.
there's a footy fire starter for you.
That's what I think of the Footy Firestarter. So interested to hear what others think. I don't know if there's others listening from the Northern Football Netball League that want to talk a little bit more about their experience or send us through anonymously some of their experiences. Similarly, I'm interested for other leagues, like how do other leagues find the media landscape when it comes to their league. I know most of the messages I get on my personal Insta is when are you going to talk about our league? And I promise those that we will get to your league at some point. There's a lot of leagues, so
That's right.
but that's the Footy Fire Starters, Rob. So I don't know. We'll keep an eye on it throughout the year. I'm intrigued to see where that story potentially goes.
Yeah, nice work. All right. Well, let's see if we get any feedback on that. That'd be intriguing. Very intriguing. So Footy Fire Starters for round one has been run and won, and Pistol's gone crack. And well, Pete, I think we should probably wrap it up pretty soon. But before we do, we picked some paddock to premiership teams for ourselves to have a little look at, have a bit of a special look at throughout the season. Maybe I'll go first with mine.
Yep.
I I picked three teams that I was interested in. Picking with the head, a team that I had a pretty strong hunch were going to do well this season, and I was going to keep a close eye on, was Pyramid Hill in the Loddon Valley Football Netball League. I'm happy to report they did start the season very strongly. So good win by Pyramid Hill over Newbridge, 16-12, 108 to 8-8-56. Benjamin Bissett down there in the forward line kicked a bag of 7 goals. So,
Benjamin Button.
no, yeah, well, that's probably up there on the list of likely nicknames, I would suggest.
Oh, I hope so.
I hope so. His kicking was certainly on the button on Saturday, and he's yeah had a good day out.
Good on
My
him.
other paddock to premiership picks didn't do so well. Um, I was interested in Fitzroy in the VAFA B grade. You already touched on them. They went down against Old Geelong. That was 13-12, 90 to 9-6-60. I would suggest that's a bit of a shock, perhaps, for Fitzroy. They probably would be reasonably confident, I think. Playing with their best side that they had in at the end of last year, they would have been
Mm.
pretty confident of beating anybody in B grade this year.
Old,
But I
old,
guess
old Geelong certainly nothing to be sneered at. Old Geelong though, they're a,
uh,
they're a handy unit as well, and
they're rising.
certainly
Yeah.
They are
Yeah,
definitely.
they finished just inside the top four last year, and yep. Well, that's true. As you said earlier, with round one, you never know whether you've had a bad day or you've just come up against a red hot opposition who are on the rise. So I will be keeping my fingers crossed for the Royals um, as they go into round two. My other paddock premiership pick was Coringal down there in the Mornington Peninsula Footy Netball League in Division Two. Got around them after they had a bit of misfortune at various levels in the club last year, and also um, Nathan Burke, club St Kilda club legend and doyen of football journalism these days, is coaching down there at the Bulls, but unfortunately they suffered a 51 point defeat in their first game against Somerville. So, yeah, 1 out of 3 in my paddock premiership picks so far. Um, Mate, I'm not sure that so many of yours actually got on the park, but
Well,
can you
I was
update
just
us?
about to say a couple of mine are still in the paddock. So
Yeah, there we go. There
we're
we
still
go.
we're still waiting to get out onto the park. We're in the paddock at the minute, but
Yeah.
so Castlemaine, no game on the fifth, round one in this Saturday the 12th. Playing Sandhurst, so playing last year's
Oh,
premiers. So
yeah. Tough.
trial by fire.
Yeah.
I did see just recently, unfortunately, Kobe Perry, who was the coach there at Maryborough last year, that he is unfortunately done for the season with the wrist injury. So
Mm,
it's probably a bit of a shame for him. I'm sure he was maybe looking forward to getting the chance to actually just play some football as well. He's been there at Maryborough for the last few years, Kobe, and he has been probably their linchpin. And
yeah.
yeah, I feel bad for him because I know it probably would have been nice to actually just go out and play football and not have to worry about trying to hold your club up
Yeah.
in survival mode. So
Yeah.
but we'll see how Castlemaine goes. Michael Hartley's still there as coach. So yeah, I think I'm quite bullish there on Castlemaine. They were my pick with the head, which might surprise a few given that I'm a Castlemaine local. But the club that won my heart last year was the North Albury Hoppers, so they were my heart pick, and also no game. So also still in the paddock. As you mentioned, other than Murray played the round zero type concept with the Wang Derby. They're actually playing the Wangaratta Rovers. So playing the Wangaratta Rovers off their loss to the Magpies. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the Hoppers go there. That'll be a good test. If it's anything based off last year's games they had against each other, it should be a ripping game. So,
Yeah.
and then my last one, my wild card, which I remember I picked my wild card on the basis of a name and name alone, and they did get on the park. Well, maybe they were still in the paddock because unfortunately Tulibuck Manangatang went down by 123 points to the Mallee Eagles. So
Mm,
they maybe a few boys just in the paddock still trying to get out onto the park. But
mm,
I enjoyed Sebastian Rogers named as best on, and he's come from Noosa, so he played for the Noosa Football Club in 2024. So
mm.
thought that was interesting. So clearly they've managed to get some recruits, Tulibuck, but yeah, not quite the result they would have wanted coming into round one. As we said, never as bad as it seems, never as good as it seems. So, in
Yeah.
saying that, doesn't get any easier. Round two against Kerrang, who have been a strong team in that league for the last few years. Kerrang did lose to Lake Boga though, so it'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see where they land after that. So, yeah, we'll be able to do a bit better of an update from my end come next week for Paddock to Premiership. But yeah, I'm keen to see. We maybe we're committing too much given that we're at the Blacks pretty much every single weekend. But we probably need to go watch one of our or a couple
Yeah.
of our Paddock
Yeah,
to
I reckon.
Premiership teams.
Yeah.
So we might need to look into those VAFA buys and
Yeah.
see where we're heading for a Paddock to Premiership watch, and who
Get
knows,
out the paddock ourselves.
maybe even do an episode out there. Hell, if they're struggling, we'll play twos. All right, maybe I'm committing us too much. Um,
Speak for
no,
yourself.
no team wants that.
Speak. Yeah, no,
No
correct.
team wants that.
Yeah.
So,
Not
but
even if
yeah,
I was 19th man. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, we don't want to be the reason why teams are having their scores wiped. So
Oh boy. Valley
definitely.
Eagles, I think that's we should have a look into some of these clubs. You talked about new clubs, but there's also, I mean, the Valley Eagles have been around for a few years now, but yeah, we
Yes.
should look into some of these more recent mergers. There's a few of them around, and
Mm,
yeah, I think the Valley Eagles have combined a few very traditionally strong
yep.
clubs that were maybe struggling of more recent times,
Mm,
and they've made a bit of a juggernaut, I think. So
yeah, I think so.
yeah,
It'd
have a
even be
look.
worth looking at the last 20 years and looking at new clubs that have been developed in the last 20
Yeah,
years and sort of where they
yeah,
are at now. I know the one that comes to mind for me is Strathfield Say in the Bendigo
yeah,
Footy League. They
yeah,
I mean they're not that old. They've had a lot
yeah,
of success, but in
yeah.
reality they'd be maybe um I'm not sure when they came into the league. I'm going to say
I was
early
going to say
to
2012 or something
in
like
fact,
that.
maybe it is. Yeah, early tens,
Yeah,
2010s.
yeah,
So yeah, they've only really been around when you think about it, maybe
yeah,
15 years.
yeah, yeah,
So yeah, it'd be worth looking at some of those and seeing where they're at and seeing what the journey is ahead potentially for some of our new clubs. But
yeah,
it's always good to see you know, a merge is always great to keep those clubs and those histories and traditions alive. So
yeah,
always good to see where clubs are struggling if they can merge to just keep that history continuing on. So yeah, I
yeah.
like that. We can certainly look at that in the future, I think.
Sounds good. All right. I think we should wrap it up for this one. That we've covered quite a bit there. Some exciting stuff happening in round one, and plenty coming up for plenty of leagues in their round one this weekend, and round twos. And I think we're probably past all the round zeros by now.
I think so.
We
I
can
hope
probably
so.
safely say that. I hope so. Yeah. Hey, we hope your team has a win on the weekend. We hope, especially if your team's had a nice long losing streak like Caramit, maybe you can get on the board.
Come on,
And
Karen.
yeah, everybody enjoy the warm weather. It's going to be up around 30 degrees, I think, down in Melbourne. So I can only imagine for those people playing up in Mildura and Swan Hill, up in that area, that is, they might have to have
Night games.
they might have to have a night game or play eighths instead of quarters or something. Um, anyway, we hope everyone has a good weekend. Enjoy your local footy, and we will see you next week.